I got tipped off by something else over the weekend. I'll share it with everybody now. That I believe their first major sign in free agency is going to be on the defensive line. Now things can change depending on who's available. Like their pass rush / defensive line group is so poor in terms of high-end NFL talent. Whereas I think they feel like the corner market is going to come to them, if that makes sense. Like guys on 1 to 3 year deals that are going to be able to help them, but you don't need to sign those guys day one of free agency. So I expect right now, here in late January, the first significant signing or signings will all be on the defensive line. Like pass rusher, defensive tackle, some kind of combination. I know people want Jalen Johnson, the kid you just mentioned out of Kansas City. Like the Cardinals would love them on their roster, but what are they doing if you don't have the infrastructure? Like Kansas City's got Chris Jones. They've got George Karlaftis. The Chicago Bears traded for Montez Sweat. They had good defensive linemen already. Like it starts up front, and they know that you can't compete in the NFC West with San Francisco. And now, the Rams have a vaunted running game without a pass rush, without people to push on and make Brock Purdy and Matthew Stafford. You don't think that Austin Ford, Rollis, and Gannon know Purdy is susceptible to pressure, Stafford's susceptible to pressure, Geno Smith or whomever Seattle. I mean, they're not facing the Kyler Murrays of the world. Thankfully, they're not facing the Mahomes or Josh Allen. They need to find a way to supplement a pass rush. That's going to be priority one, I'm told, in free agency.
Man, I can't even look at you right now. You're a superstar getting that kind of information and then sharing it with us
on this show.
You're a beautiful man. You're a beautiful man. You're a man of the people. Cheers. You deliver the news that they want. Yes. Cheers to you as well, my man.
I'm gonna drink alone. Have a little coffee, a little caffeine.
I got a little water. I won't do coffee afternoon.
You're not alone, brother. I'm drinking coffee too.
Damon Dog. Also,
Damon and I are just grinders. Yeah. We grind.
That's why you guys are up at 11. I'm snoozing. I'm snoozing at night, and while you guys are just grinding away on Twitter, Damon's talking his shit, and you're getting the insight. And I'm looking at it like Justin Matabuke, come on down, playing in the AFC Championship game. Love to see him from the Baltimore Ravens. As you mentioned, probably priced out in as far as the age of Chris Jones, but I mean Christian Wilkins, somebody you identified, Leonard Williams, somebody else you identified. I mean, any one of those guys immediately comes in, you join them, you couple them with Dante Stills, maybe a day 2, day 3 defensive lineman. Now the Cardinals have an NFL caliber defensive line, just like that. They utilize their assets, not a ton of assets, not a ton of cap space, not a ton of draft capital, and they get it going. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I'm optimistic. They got to execute. And here's the one thing that we haven't seen from Austin Ford. The recruitment free agency hasn't happened yet. And that it takes 2 to tango. And most of that is typically done with what, Bo? Guaranteed money. But you also got to be able to weed your way through. And this is what they've articulated, Michael Bidwell. Like, we can't have NFLPA grades that embarrass us, Mike. Can you help us out there?
Yeah.
Can you make this appealing for people and their families to want to come play here? And they're working on that. But we have not seen, I know we've pivoted hard from pick 27, but I think it all ties back together.
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to land these big fish. Like, you got to be able to sell other free agents that, number one, this is a fun place to play. You're going to get paid a lot of money, and that we're on an upward trajectory. I think Gannon himself has ingratiated himself throughout the league based on, number one, how much the Cardinals competed this year, and 2, how much Philadelphia was left for dead, a dumpster fire after he and Shane Steichen left. I think those will be good recruiting pitches.
Yeah. I mean, you see Philly, they're bringing in Ron Rivera to interview him for the defense. Okay, cool. But no, I mean, this is also how it ties back to 27, right? I mean, if you go out there and you sign a guy to a big guaranteed dollar deal, that 5th-year option becomes very important, because if you were able to lock in somebody, a young player, a starting caliber player at a premium position, you've got him on your roster for 4 to 5 years. Yeah. Very controllable and very cost effective at those positions. I mean, that's why it's important. And I think that's why you start to kind of look at, how the draft dominoes could fall, and everybody's, wanting, Jerzon Newton, who's more like in the teens. Like if he's there, yeah, you have that conversation, but like you were realistically looking at like, both the tackles out of Pac-12 from Washington State. You're looking at some corners there, like whether it's a Kool-Aid, whether it's a Kenyon Mitchell out of Toledo, who's kind of a fast riser. You're looking at tackle, you're looking at edge, you're looking at cornerback. And I think that if you do that, like on top of the free agent signings, like with 27, that's where the value remains as far as pulling off this deal with Houston, back in the first round of last year's draft.